Here's a little quick history from someone who doesn't read a lot. In the 1800s, during the, what was that period called? The Industrial Revolution. They had like kids working in factories, like fucking 12, 14-hour days, like 4 or 5-year-old kids in dangerous situations. And people weren't making any money. And the one guy who owned the factory was keeping all the money. These robber barons, who all should be in fucking jail. But politicians don't make any money, and they just throw them money, so they are on the legal side of stealing. No one's ever gone to jail for being a robber baron. Anyway, so the working man finally has enough. They start organizing unions. The robber barons hire police, the army, all of these people to come in and kill these people in riots, crack their skulls, do unbelievable sorts of damage to them to try and force them to go back to work for sweatshop wages. These people died, were maimed, catastrophic fucking injuries so that we could have a decent wage in this country. And they had unions and all of that. So then there was like a 40, 50-year period where being a middle-class person, middle-class white person, was the dream. You know, because there was still racism, classism, and all of that shit, right? Well, middle class is a class. You know, there's still racism, okay? And then what happened was eventually these corporations just got sick of dealing with these unions and their hard-nosed negotiating and all that. And then they just said, well, fuck you then. You keep your union, keep your factory. We're leaving. And they took their factories outside of the U.S. and went back to 1800 wages in Mexico, China, wherever the hell they're building them. So then what happened was once people realized that that was happening, there was this pushback. This is how it happened during my lifetime. People were like, what the fuck? You should be making those things here. And then what the corporate guy said was, well, you know, we would make sneakers here, but if to pay the American worker and everything, the sneakers would then, instead of costing $50, they'd now cost $700. And I was always thinking, why? It would cost $700. I can't afford that. And what it really was they weren't going to lose the profit of sweatshop labor. So if they came back to America, we weren't going to work for that. So, and they weren't going to lose the profit of sweatshop labor, so they were going to pass it on to the consumer. That's what the fuck happened. So all of this talk that, you know, Mexico stole our jobs, China stole our jobs, they didn't steal the jobs. They were exploited by the super rich cunts that are not patriots in this country. They're not. They're pieces of shit. So that's what the fuck happened. So, and then here we are all of these years later in an effort to get, you know, this labor to come back. We're somehow trying to punish these other countries who've been suffering with sweatshop labor from a handful of super rich people from this country that fucked everyone in this country and every other country that they went to around the world, making America look bad. But what do? They divide us. They have the American worker who's getting fucked, mad at the whatever other worker around the world who's also getting fucked, actually getting fucked worse, getting sweatshop slave wages. So I really believe that was happening. I don't understand what that whole fucking thing was, but all I know is once again, the market tanked and a bunch of rich people, right before they turned it back on again, went in and made a ridiculous amount of money, and they're all high-fiving with each other. And I don't know, this guy told me something a long time ago. He says, when you watch the stock market and they go like, up $2 billion was lost today. He's like, money isn't lost. Like, where did it go? That's just how they frame it. It isn't lost. It changes hands. All right, that's enough of that shit.